Hello, my name is Karen Leeder and I'm so pleased to be shortlisted for the Oxford Weidenfeld Translation Prize and in such wonderful company with my translation of I am a field full of rapeseed, give cover to deer and shine like 13 oil paintings laid one on top of the other. The little book with the big title. The 2016 original has won prizes in Germany, and I'm delighted that the English version, published with Seagull Books in 2020, has already found readers and supporters. This is the fourth book of poems by the Berlin author Ulrike Sandig, whom you will see in a moment. And like her first collection in English, Thick of It, which was runner-up for the Schlegel-Tieck Prize last year, this collection is about a world recognisably our own, but also curiously other. Here, to quote, we find ourselves deep in the future of fairy tale. This comes from a cycle based on the household tales of the brothers Grimm, and Sandig, like Angela Carter before her, famously reanimates the darker, more violent side of Grimm as a backdrop for very contemporary European concerns, migration, war, the rise of the new right. That word Grimm, however, in German means rage, a rage that permeates the collection as a reaction to the darkness in the collective German consciousness. There is the brother who, in the tale, cannot resist the lure of the forest and the care of his sister, and who morphs here into a figure from one of the first trials of jihadists coming back to Germany from Syria. Another poem channels the language of Pegida, Germany's populist right-wing anti-immigration party. Another again comes to you from the United States' so-called black site, Abu Ghraib. And heading towards us through the book as a whole are a myriad of desperate migrants of various kinds in search of salvation in Fortress Europe. Like here, in a poem which splices GDR song, fairy tale and the blisteringly contemporary. Tale of the land of milk and honey. Good evening, Deutschland. Turn the fog lights on. We're after telling it like it is, being on cue. Those who want in must chomp their way through a cake that's not found anywhere in Grimm. Those who want out are gone in 2 shakes, quicker than the time it takes to think of a 4-syllable word. Just say 3 times, milk and honey, milk and honey. We've lost our way in your shopping malls, can't tell them apart anymore. In Höxter, a fat girl buys an angel of clay and asks the till, what does hope mean? In Steinheim, Haken drinks his coffee strong. He dreamed again. He swam across a honey-cake Mediterranean sea, only to be beached at last on the streets, the brown silt sands of the land of milk and honey. In Jena, after a 3-year trial, a priest receives a hefty fine for driving into a police car to avoid colliding with the line of demonstrators. My homeland is not only the cities and villages, it's also the doorman before them. I dreamed he looks like Kayayana and asks for the code word. Tell me the land where the donkeys have silver noses. Say it 3 times over. You're not getting in. You're not getting in. You're... But even where the politics is not formally named, it is there as a force or a shadow. Those writing secret messages to one another on raw eggs in the poem Grimm, for example, arms raised in sticky salute as the world collapses around them. Even the expected calm of a poem like Lullaby for All Those is really a call to arms against darkness writ large. Listen to this snippet. We're waiting for 2 or 3 of those good humming dreams, 4 peace treaties, 5 apples in deep sleep. We are waiting for 6 cathedrals and for those 7 fat cows, 8 quiet hours full of sleep. We're waiting for 9 friends gone missing. We're counting our fingers. we're still resisting. We won't go to sleep. That poem finds power to resist in a collective we. I, though, is a fraught category for Sandig, often threatened with disappearance or silence, but also recast into dozens of animate and inanimate versions of itself, from fields of rapeseed to wood in a table, the German language to a strand of DNA, a fluid tuning fork. Irish poet Volker Braun insists that I is the most dangerous and dynamic word at a poet's disposal. Introduce it into a poem and the game changes instantly. But it's a sly little thing, two-faced. Half the time it's not even interested in itself, it's just throwing shapes. The next poem gives you a taste of the shapes that Sandig's eye throws. Incidentally, also challenging the way female poets are often read with an autobiographical edge. I say everything twice, do everything twice. I repeat everything, every mistake and every betrayal, always twice. Test, test. I am a double-voiced songbird with a human face. And it's hard to see I'm an odd bird at all when I sit in the fern tree and double clink, double click and creak and grind with my beak. I am a travel company luring you south as if happiness truly is buried below the equator. But don't be deceived. I can't be trusted, or if I can, then only twice, though there's no helping you, not even once. I am a little two-legged teapot wearing my father's black cassock, his white collar, and I carry with me my mother's girlhood dreams. When I leave you, it's always twice. Once in the south, but just as a test. And once, stop, in the northwest. Sandig has always insisted that while poetry belongs to the page, it also has an existence beyond it, and she is at home at a reading or on stage at a rock gig, with the text as a score, as she calls it, that can be realised in different ways. In discussions, she insists on the dual existence of the optical form of the poem and its audible other. This gains an added dimension when you take into account Sandig's own experimental and intensely musical performances, but also the fact that many of her poems, first conceived as written texts, acquire a new mode of being, a new identity as collaborative performance pieces with music, animation or experimental film. For Sandig, this creates the possibility of a third form, hybrid, rather like the gloriously creative hybrid future she posits for the German language in News from the German Language 2026 AD, here performed with the Metropole Orchestra at the Rotterdam Poetry Festival.
Von der deutschen Sprache. 2026 Anno Domini. Berlin. Wenn es gelingt, bin ich ein Feld voller Raps, verstecke die Rehe und leuchte, wie 13 Ölgemälde übereinander gelegt. Wenn es jetzt schon gelingt, will ich Schaum sein vom Sirup irakischer Datteln, Würfel aus türkischem Honig, syrische Lyrik, Eine rund geschliffene geometrische Form wie Kiesen, Wiesenblüten, Bonbon und sprich's aus. Ich bin das Pidgin der schönen, schwarzlockigen, schweren Jungs, die ihre Rhymes austeilen an zärtlichen Bomben. Guckst du? Keiner fliegt hier in die Luft außer den Tauben. Wenn es nicht gelingt, will ich meine Sprache vergessen. Je suis ein Feld voller Monokultur. Ersticke die Schlehen und drehe mich weg. Je suis nicht mehr mein eigen Heimatland. Aber wenn es gelingt, werden wir, ihr alle und ich, zeitgleich ein Kinderlied reimen, wie aus einem einzigen Mund voller Raps. Wir werden ein fließender Leim sein auf weißem Papier. Wir werden leicht sein und schwer, vor allem aber werden wir sein.
So, this is a dark book, a playful book, a profoundly political book, a self-conscious, a utopian book, a book alert to all the commotion of today, but also to the voices of the past and those of tomorrow, but also one that maps out the possibilities of poetry. I have so enjoyed working on it, growing with it, following the twists and turns of that fluid and teasing diction. You might have noticed along the way the absence of punctuation and other grammatical markers that untether words, the riffing on phrasing, playing with hidden quotations, or following sound as a primary sense giver that make her poems so exhilarating and so fiendish to translate. Hers is, I think, a radical, urgent and ultimately musical voice, utterly singular in German. To bring it into English, I've discovered that I've had to stretch my own language and sometimes go quite far from a poem in order to return to it fully. I hope that shows. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it reaches you too. I thought I'd finish with a title poem set to music with Sandig's poetry band Landschaft, together with Ukrainian rapper and musician Grigory Zemenchuk, and filmed with collaborator Sasha Conrad. It brings together lots of the things I've been talking about. It picks up a famous poem by Annette von Droste-Hülshoff, 19th century poet, but also talks about what it is to say I as a woman in Germany today. Thanks to Ulrike, thanks to the Weidenfeld Committee, thanks to Seagull Books, who brought out this beautiful book in the most difficult of circumstances, based in Calcutta. And dear friends, thank you.
Meine Freunde, versteht mich nicht falsch. Wir kennen uns nicht. Ich kenne mich doch selbst nicht. Ich stehe morgens auf und weiß nicht, bin ich es? Bin ich es? Wer war dieses Kind unterm Rock seiner Mutter? Ich bin die Mutter, ich bin die Tochter. Ich bin der Schatten zum sich drunter verstecken. Ich bin ein Feld voller Raps, verstecke die Rehe und leuchte wie 13 Ölgemälde übereinander gelegt. Ich bin die Landschaft, ich bin die Jägerin auf freier Flur. Ich bin die Landschaft, ich bin die Jägerin auf freier Flur. Befinde mich auf dem Hochstand am Waldrand und zähle die Rehe im Feld. Freunde, seht ihr mein kurz geschnittenes Haar? Ich lasse es flattern im Winde. Kurz geschnittenes Haar. Ich lasse es flattern im Winde. Ich bin ein Text, der zum Ende hin ausfranst. Ein Stück nur von einem Soldaten. Seine Brauen, die Waden oder sein Galgenhumor, den er schließlich verlor, als er den Schießbefehl an eine klägliche Reihe zu junger Soldaten nicht erteilte, weil in der noch kläglicheren Reihe vor ihm eine Schwangere stand. Ich bin die Schwangere, ich bin die Reihe von 13 Gewehren. Ich bin die Schwangere, ich bin die Reihe von 13 Gewehren. Ich bin ein Kriegsverräterprozess. Ich bin kein artiges Kind, das darf nur heimlich lösen sein Haar und lassen es flattern im Wind. Der spinnerte Wind, das himmlische Kind. Und ich drehe mich um einen Turm mit hohen Balkonen, auf dem eine Frau steht und still und heimlich ihr Haar löst. Aber nein, diese Frau bin ich nicht, bin ich doch, bin ich nicht, will ich nie wieder sein. Meine Freunde, versteht